I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my older sister Melanie, 32F. Growing up in a small Midwest town, our family dynamics were far from ideal. Our parents, both successful professionals, placed an enormous emphasis on academic achievement and social status. From a young age, it was clear that Melanie was the golden child who could do no wrong in their eyes. Melanie excelled in everything she touched: straight A's, captain of the debate team, class president, you name it. She was the perfect daughter our parents had always dreamed of. I, on the other hand, struggled academically and socially. What I didn't know then was that I had undiagnosed ADHD, which made traditional learning environments challenging for me. Our parents' constant comparisons between us only exacerbated the situation. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" became a common refrain in our household. Family dinners often turned into showcases of Melanie's latest accomplishments, while my struggles were either ignored or criticized. This dynamic continued throughout our childhood and teenage years, driving a wedge between us that never truly healed. As we entered adulthood, the gap between us only seemed to widen. Melanie went off to an Ivy League college on a full scholarship, then straight to law school. She landed a job at a prestigious firm in the city and quickly climbed the corporate ladder. Meanwhile, I struggled to find my footing. I bounced between community college and various entry-level jobs, never quite finding my place. It wasn't until my mid-20s that I discovered my passion for graphic design. I went back to school, got my degree, and started building a career I genuinely enjoyed. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was on the right path. Our parents were supportive, but their pride in my accomplishments always seemed to pale in comparison to their adoration of Melanie's success. Despite our differences, I thought Melanie and I had reached a place of mutual respect as adults. We weren't close, but we were cordial at family gatherings and would occasionally grab coffee when she was in town. I even confided in her about my struggles with self-esteem and imposter syndrome, hoping to bridge the gap between us. She seemed sympathetic, and for a while, I thought we were making progress. 3 years ago, I met Mark, 30M, at a local art fair where I was showcasing some of my work. He's a high school art teacher with a passion for inspiring young minds. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of creativity and education. Mark is everything I could have hoped for in a partner: kind, supportive, and loves me unconditionally. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen and appreciated for who I am. Our relationship progressed quickly, and 6 months ago, Mark proposed during a weekend getaway to a quaint bed and breakfast. It was simple, intimate, and perfect. We started planning our wedding for next spring, excited to start our life together. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with my family. My parents seemed happy for me, if a bit reserved. Melanie, however, was oddly quiet when I told her. She congratulated me but quickly changed the subject. I brushed it off at the time, assuming she was just busy with work. Last month, my world came crashing down when I found out the real reason behind Melanie's lukewarm response. Our cousin Amy, 26F, who has always been more like a sister to me than Melanie ever was, called me in tears. She couldn't keep it to herself any longer. Melanie had been badmouthing Mark to our family behind my back for months. According to Amy, Melanie had been telling anyone who would listen that Mark was a loser who would never amount to anything because he was just a high school teacher. She said I was settling and that I could do so much better. She even went as far as to suggest that Mark was only with me for financial stability, implying that as a teacher, he couldn't possibly support a family on his own. I was furious and heartbroken. How could Melanie, who knew about my struggles with self-worth, try to undermine the one relationship that had finally made me feel valued? And how dare she judge Mark's worth based solely on his career choice? I confronted Melanie about it, hoping there had been some misunderstanding. To my shock, she didn't even try to deny it. She said she was just looking out for me and didn't want me to end up with someone beneath our family status. She argued that as my older sister, it was her duty to protect me from making a huge mistake. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her she had no right to judge my relationship or spread lies about Mark. I reminded her that teaching is a noble profession and that Mark's impact on his students' lives was worth far more than any high-powered salary. Things escalated quickly. I told Melanie she was a snobby, elitist bitch who clearly hadn't outgrown her need to feel superior to me. I accused her of being jealous that I had found happiness with someone who valued me for who I am, not what I could do for their social status. Melanie fired back, calling me ungrateful and naive. She said I was throwing away my potential by marrying a nobody and that I would regret it when I was struggling to make ends meet in a few years. After our blowout, I went low contact with Melanie. I only spoke to her when absolutely necessary for family events, keeping our interactions brief and cold. Our parents tried to intervene, but I shut down any attempts to discuss the situation. I was done being the family peacekeeper at the expense of my own happiness. Last week, Melanie dropped a bombshell. She called to announce her engagement to her boyfriend of 2 years, Tyler, 34M. Tyler comes from a wealthy family and is a partner at a prestigious law firm, exactly the type of man our parents always envisioned for her. Melanie was over the moon, gushing about her massive diamond ring and plans for a lavish wedding. Then came the kicker. Melanie said she wanted me to be her maid of honor. She acted as if nothing had happened between us, talking about dress fittings and bachelorette party plans. I was stunned by her audacity. I took a deep breath and told her congratulations, but that I would not be attending her wedding, let alone be her maid of honor. Melanie was shocked. She asked why, as if she genuinely couldn't understand my reasoning. I reminded her of how she's treated Mark and said I refused to celebrate her marriage when she's shown such disrespect to mine. Melanie started crying, accusing me of being petty and holding a grudge. She insisted she was just trying to look out for me as my big sister and that I was blowing things out of proportion. I stood my ground, telling her I didn't need or want her looking out for me anymore. I said her actions had shown me exactly what she thought of me and my choices, and I wasn't interested in pretending everything was fine for the sake of appearances. Now my parents are furious with me for ruining Melanie's special time. They've been calling nonstop, leaving voicemails about family obligation and the importance of forgiveness. They say I need to be the bigger person and let it go for the sake of family harmony. My mom even had the nerve to suggest that Mark was turning me against my family, as if I couldn't possibly have formed my own opinion on the matter. I'm standing firm in my decision, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't taking a toll on me. Mark has been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal. He says he'll back whatever decision I make, but I can tell he's hurt by how my family has treated him. He suggested that maybe we should elope and avoid the family drama altogether, but part of me feels like that would be letting Melanie win. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after how she's behaved? Should I just suck it up and go for the sake of keeping the peace? I've spent so much of my life trying to measure up to Melanie and make my family proud. Part of me feels guilty for causing drama, but another part feels like I need to take a stand. I could really use some outside perspective on this mess. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and to say things have been chaotic would be an understatement. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. Your words have been a source of strength during this difficult time. After my initial refusal to attend Melanie's wedding, the situation with my family escalated rapidly. My parents, who had always been masters of emotional manipulation, ramped up their guilt-tripping efforts to unprecedented levels. They called and texted constantly, cycling between anger, disappointment, and syrupy sweet pleas for family unity. Things came to a head about 2 weeks ago when my parents showed up unannounced at my apartment on a Wednesday evening. I had just gotten home from work and was in the middle of making dinner when the doorbell rang. Opening the door to find my mom and dad standing there felt like a punch to the gut. They pushed their way inside, my mom already in tears and my dad wearing his stern "we need to talk" face. For the next hour, they tag-teamed me with every guilt trip in their arsenal. They brought up sacrifices they'd made for me growing up, times they'd supported me through tough periods, and how this selfish decision was breaking their hearts. I stood my ground and calmly explained once again how hurtful Melanie's actions were and that I couldn't in good conscience celebrate her marriage when she's shown such disrespect to mine. I told them that true family support goes both ways, and that I didn't feel supported by any of them right now. My parents weren't having it. They accused me of being selfish and said I was tearing the family apart over petty high school drama. My dad even had the audacity to suggest that maybe Melanie was right about Mark being a bad influence on me, since I'd never behaved this way before. That's when things took an unexpected turn. My mom, clearly frustrated that her tears weren't working, dropped the bombshell. She threatened to withdraw financial support for my own wedding if I didn't agree to be in Melanie's. I was shocked. I hadn't even asked them to contribute anything to my wedding. Mark and I had been planning to pay for everything ourselves. The threat felt like a slap in the face, but it also opened my eyes to how they've always viewed their parental role, not as unconditional support, but as a transaction. It was a painful realization, but in a way, it made my decision easier. I told them that if that's how they felt, they didn't need to contribute or even attend my wedding at all. I said I'd rather have a small ceremony surrounded by people who genuinely support us than a big event filled with fake smiles and hidden resentment. My mom burst into tears, again, and my dad started yelling about how ungrateful I was. He brought up every mistake I'd ever made, every time I disappointed them growing up. It was like all the pent-up resentment from years of favoring Melanie came pouring out. I asked them to leave, saying I needed space from all of them for a while. After they left, I broke down crying. All the stress and emotion I'd been holding back came flooding out. Mark came home from work to find me sobbing on the couch. He was amazing, He just held me and assured me that we'd get through this together. We spent that night talking through our options and decided to look into scaling back our wedding plans so we can pay for everything ourselves. A few days later, I got an unexpected call from my Aunt Susan, 54F, my mom's sister. She said she'd heard what happened from my parents and wanted to offer her support. To my surprise, she told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself and Mark. Aunt Susan revealed that she and several other family members have long been uncomfortable with how my parents and Melanie treat me, but never knew how to bring it up. She apologized for not speaking up sooner and offered to help with our wedding in any way she could, even offering to contribute financially if we needed it. I was touched by Aunt Susan's support, and it made me realize I'm not as alone in this as I thought. It's been comforting to know that not everyone in the family agrees with my parents and Melanie's behavior. Mark and I are now considering having a smaller, more intimate wedding surrounded by the people who truly love and support us. We've been looking at some beautiful outdoor venues that would be perfect for a low-key celebration. Melanie hasn't reached out since our last conversation, but I heard through Amy that she's furious I'm stealing attention from her engagement. Apparently, she's been telling family members that I'm just jealous of her success and taking it out on her by ruining her wedding plans. Honestly, I'm past the point of caring what she thinks. My parents have switched tactics again. Now they're sending daily emails about how worried they are about me and how they just want their real daughter back. They've even reached out to some of my friends, trying to get them to talk sense into me. It feels invasive and manipulative. For now, I'm focusing on planning my wedding to the man I love and strengthening relationships with the family members who have shown they genuinely care about my happiness. I've started seeing a therapist to work through some of the deep-seated family issues this situation has brought to the surface. It's been a difficult month, full of emotional highs and lows. But underneath all the stress and sadness, I feel a sense of empowerment. For the first time in my life, I'm standing up for myself and what I believe in. It's terrifying, but also liberating. I'm still not sure what the future holds for my relationship with my parents and Melanie. Part of me hopes that with time and distance, they'll come to understand my perspective. But I'm also preparing myself for the possibility that this rift may be permanent. Either way, I'm committed to moving forward and creating a life filled with love, respect, and genuine support, even if that means redefining what family means to me. Update 2. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and the situation with my family has continued to evolve in ways I never expected. I wanted to share some recent developments and get some advice on how to handle the latest drama. First, some good news: Mark and I have finalized our wedding plans. We've decided on a beautiful, intimate ceremony at a local botanical garden with just 50 of our closest friends and family. The venue is perfect for us, filled with vibrant flowers and greenery. It reflects our love of nature and art. We're planning a laid-back celebration with a focus on good food, great music, and the people we love most. Aunt Susan has been an incredible help with the planning process. She's gone above and beyond, using her connections to help us find amazing vendors at discounted rates. She even insisted on paying for my wedding dress as a gift. I found a gorgeous, bohemian-style gown that makes me feel like a woodland fairy princess. It's nothing like the elaborate ball gown Melanie always said I should wear, but it's perfect for me. Now for the not-so-good news. Melanie's wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and the pressure from my family to attend has intensified to an almost unbearable degree. My parents have switched tactics from guilt-tripping to love-bombing. They've been sending gifts, offering to pay for a lavish vacation for Mark and me, and constantly talking about how much they miss me. Last week, a huge bouquet of my favorite flowers arrived at my office with a card from my mom, reminiscing about a happy memory from my childhood. It was a bittersweet moment. Part of me was touched by the gesture, while another part felt manipulated. I've remained firm in my decision not to attend Melanie's wedding, but I'll admit the constant barrage of emotions from my family has been wearing me down. There are moments when I find myself second-guessing my decision, wondering if I'm being too harsh. Part of me misses the idea of a close-knit family, even if that wasn't really our reality. The latest drama started when Melanie sent out her official wedding invitations. Despite my clear stance on not attending, she still sent me an invitation, along with a handwritten note. The invitation itself was ostentatious, dripping with gold foil and promising an extravagant affair at a luxury resort. The note, however, was what really got under my skin. In it, Melanie apologized for her poor choice of words about Mark, but said she still believes I'm making a mistake. She wrote that she loves me and wants me by her side on her big day, and that she'd be willing to overlook my stubbornness if I agreed to be her maid of honor. I was furious. Her apology felt insincere and condescending. The fact that she referred to my valid feelings as stubbornness just proved she hasn't really changed or understood why I was hurt in the first place. It felt like she was more concerned with having the perfect wedding photos than actually repairing our relationship. I decided not to respond to the invitation or the note. I thought my silence would speak volumes. However, Melanie apparently took my silence as an agreement because she started telling family members that I had changed my mind and would be in the wedding. When I found out about this from Aunt Susan, I was livid. I immediately called Melanie and told her in no uncertain terms that I would not be attending her wedding, let alone be in it. I told her that her manipulative behavior and fake apology only reinforced my decision to keep my distance. Melanie exploded. She accused me of trying to ruin her wedding and said I was just jealous because her fiancé is more successful than Mark. She brought up old childhood grievances, accusing me of always trying to steal her spotlight. I hung up on her mid-rant, my hands shaking with anger and hurt. Now my phone is blowing up with messages from family members. Some are begging me to reconsider for the sake of family unity. Others are calling me selfish and dramatic. My cousin Amy sent a supportive text, but even she gently suggested that maybe I should attend the wedding to be the bigger person. My parents left a voicemail saying they're deeply disappointed in my behavior and that I'm breaking their hearts. They said they raised me better than this and that they don't understand why I'm intent on destroying our family. I'm standing firm in my decision, but I'll admit all this drama is taking a toll on me. I've been having trouble sleeping and my appetite has disappeared. Mark has been incredibly supportive, but I can see it's affecting him too. He suggested we take a short trip to get away from all the family stress and focus on us. I'm considering taking him up on that offer, maybe even turning off my phone for a few days. But part of me worries that we'll just make things worse when we get back. I'm also concerned about the potential backlash at work. My boss is friends with my parents and I'm worried this family drama might somehow affect my job. Am I handling this situation right? Should I just give in and go to the wedding to keep the peace? Or should I continue to hold my ground? Any advice on how to deal with the constant barrage of guilt and manipulation would be greatly appreciated. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on how everything played out. Mark and I did end up taking that trip he suggested. We spent a week at a lovely beach resort with our phones turned off. It was exactly what we needed to decompress and reconnect away from all the family drama. We spent our days lounging on the beach, trying local restaurants, and even took a couples painting class. It reminded me why I fell in love with Mark in the first place and reinforced my decision to prioritize our relationship over family expectations. When we returned, I had dozens of missed calls and messages from family members about Melanie's wedding. I decided to send out a mass email to everyone explaining my position one last time. I detailed Melanie's hurtful actions, her insincere apology, and my reasons for not attending the wedding. I made it clear that this was my final word on the matter and asked them to respect my decision. The response was mixed. Some family members finally seemed to understand my perspective, while others doubled down on their criticism. My parents sent a long, emotional email essentially saying I was dead to them if I didn't attend the wedding. It was painful to read, but it also solidified my resolve. Melanie's wedding came and went without me there. From what I heard through Amy, it was a lavish affair with hundreds of guests. Apparently, Melanie spent most of the reception bad-mouthing me to anyone who would listen, painting herself as the victim of her unreasonable little sister. It hurt to hear, but it also confirmed that I've made the right choice in not attending. In the months since, I've maintained very low contact with my immediate family. It's been difficult, especially during holidays and family events, but also freeing in many ways. I've been working on building stronger relationships with the family members who have supported me, like Aunt Susan. Mark and I got married last month in the intimate ceremony we planned. It was a beautiful day filled with love and genuine joy. Aunt Susan walked me down the aisle, which felt incredibly special. We were surrounded by friends and family who truly support us, and the love in the air was palpable. To my surprise, my parents reached out the day before our wedding. They said they realized they had handled things badly and wanted to make amends. While I appreciated the gesture, I told them I wasn't ready to let them back into my life just yet. I said maybe we could start with small steps in the future, but for now, I needed to focus on my new life with Mark. Melanie hasn't reached out at all, which is probably for the best. I've heard through Amy that she and Tyler are expecting their first child. While part of me feels a twinge of sadness at the thought of not knowing my future niece or nephew, I know maintaining distance is the healthiest choice for now. Looking back, I don't regret my decision to stand up for myself and Mark. It's been a difficult journey, but I've learned a lot about setting boundaries and prioritizing my own happiness. Mark and I are stronger than ever, and we're excited to start this new chapter of our lives together. To anyone dealing with toxic family dynamics, I want to say, it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. It's not easy, but sometimes creating distance is the kindest thing you can do for yourself. Surround yourself with people who truly support and value you. Family is what you make it. Thank you to everyone who has offered support and advice throughout this journey. Your kindness and understanding have meant more than you know.